Study. I mean, students, members of the Madison community.
Yeah, it's just open to the public, whoever is interested in this topic. Yeah.
So I think we'll get started, and if any other stragglers pop in, that'll be just fine. So good afternoon. My name is Sarah Ripp. I'm the Outreach Coordinator and Undergrad Advisor for the Latin American, Caribbean, and Iberian Studies program. And this is the second installment of a three-part series that Dr. Carolina Bailey has been coming over here from Madison College to continue. Today we've got the role of women in indigenous communities, in Bolivia and Peru. I want to tell you a little bit about Carolina. She's a Spanish instructor at Madison College. She earned her linguistics and second language acquisition degrees at UW-Madison. During her recent trip to Peru and Bolivia, she visited indigenous communities to see how globalization has affected these communities. Currently, she is actively participating in an initiative to help improve the environment for diverse populations in academic settings. She's also a mentor for the Students of Color Mentoring Program, as well as a member of the Diversity and Community Relations Council at Madison College, and also a member of the Latino Professional Association. So please join me in welcoming Carolina today.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for coming. The talk today is going to be about the role of women in indigenous communities in both Peru and Bolivia. So as Sarah mentioned, I had the opportunity to participate in a research trip in Peru and Bolivia. So I'm going to talk a little bit about that. It was a 5-week trip to Peru and Bolivia, and it was to see about how indigenous communities were affected by globalization. My degrees are both in second language acquisition and linguistics, so when I went there, it was more to look at language preservation, but then after interacting with these wonderful communities, all of my horizons just wide open about so many things that are happening that I think are very important for people to know and to find out. So we were 14 different instructors from different fields. So it was people from sociology, ecology, philosophy, languages, psychology, women's studies. So there were so many fields that were represented. So we were a group of instructors and professors that were going. Some of the indigenous communities that we visited, this is just a snippet. We actually visited way more than this. So in Tocoli, Achacachi, Santa Rosa de Lima, those are the ones in Bolivia. And in Peru, we visited Santa Rosa de Huacaria, this is in the Amazon, Willock, and Patacancha, and Pisac. So kind of like gives you a little bit of an idea of what communities we visited in Peru and Bolivia. Just a little bit of background for the two countries. Bolivia is called now the Estado Plurinacional de Bolivia. The name now, it changed to plurinacional in order to honor the fact that you have, that in Bolivia there are many different indigenous communities, so it is not just the mainstream Spanish speaking language, but also they wanted to honor the fact that there are so many indigenous communities that now it has plurinacional, so different nations represented within this name. Also, the other hidden purpose for the change of this name, of course, it has to be political. When Evo Morales came to power, the country was called just Bolivia, right? So then he was elected for a second term, and he was still having a lot of support from the indigenous communities. And when his second term was finishing, of course, he was still having some support from the indigenous communities, but he couldn't be reelected a third time for being the president of Bolivia. But, always a but, you could be the president of a different country. So they changed it to Estado Plurinacional de Bolivia, so now he could be now the first president of the Estado Plurinacional de Bolivia, so he served a third time. Right now, he's not reelected for a fourth. There are so many political issues that came to play into the fact that he was not reelected, and that's going to be a little bit addressed in my next talk in May 4th. Then in Bolivia, we have Spanish, and then 36 other official indigenous languages. This one is the Bolivian flag, and this one is the flag of the indigenous communities. Just to mention something here in the middle, you have these white squares. Yeah, I was gonna do like rombos. These squares here, and that it represents the Andes. So it's very symbolic, the flag. Then for Peru, Peru has not changed the name, no reason why for the moment. And then the languages, the main that are spoken are Spanish, Quechua, and Aymara. And this is the Peruvian flag, and this is the indigenous flag. I mentioned this, that when we were in Peru and also in Bolivia, when this flag was posted on the buildings, tourists were super happy, thinking that it was like, oh, you know, gay pride, yeah, and it's not gay pride, it's, you know, the indigenous pride flag. So it was kind of like funny to see that a little bit, because they were like, you know, taking pictures, you know, how open they were, open-minded, and no, it's the indigenous flag. It's a total different symbolism here. Okay, so in this talk, I'm going to talk about it's going to be three different parts. Women in traditional roles, women and education, and then women in politics. So that is how this talk is going to be divided. So women in traditional roles. When we were visiting these indigenous communities, it was very, they were explaining to us that there were very definite roles in these communities. So you have the women, they stay at home, they help raise the kids, they take care of, you know, things around the house, they do handcraft stuff, and men, they go hunting, they go and take care of the crops, they go and take care of the animals. So it was like very definite roles in these indigenous communities. So it was very interesting to see that. Other things that were even more interesting, well, that's just me, that I found it like amazingly interesting, was the fact that the marital status were always very visible for women. There was no marker of marital status for men. What do I mean by that? For women, it was, for example, in the clothing. The clothing will mark if a woman was married or not. So I brought here some examples. So in Bolivia, a lot of the skirts that we saw were the polleras. So these things are like these super heavy skirts. That they are super beautiful on top of that. I love them. But this pollera, as you can see, it's like super bulky, but it's just one long fabric. And they just fold it, so it's different folds, right? And this shows that this is a married woman's skirt, right? This kind of a skirt shows that it is a married woman. For a single woman, then it's a little bit more simple in the sense that it doesn't have all of these foldings, but it will have like more shiny stuff, things that will say, I'm single, you know, available. So I found it super interesting that it was a visual marker, like very visual, very big, to show that I am married. Then in Peru, just give me just 1 second, I'm gonna have to take this one off. Oh, wait. Whoops, there he goes. Then in Peru, it was the same notion with the skirt. So we visited this we saw it all over, and here we have a woman from the Willock community in Peru, so they will have this skirt also. If you're married, very simple skirt. You see there's nothing shiny, no, you know, something that is gonna cut the attention of the man. Nothing like that. It's very plain, very simple. And also with the hats. So if you see that hat, that's a married woman hat. This one is a married woman hat. Let me just do this. So this one, as you can see, is also very simple. If you're a single lady, then you are shiny all over, and you put as much things as you can, you know, to signal that, you know, you're not taking, you know, the shinier the better, the more it's going to attract the male counterpart. And also, if you see here, really not that shiny. It's just very simple hat, very simple, very gorgeous. I love it.
So I can see that there is a cross
this cross? Uh-huh. Like if it means something? No, actually, no, nothing. I asked about it because I thought I was looking at this cross at the beginning, you know. And I was like, what does it mean? And they were like, nothing, it's just fabric. Yeah, it doesn't really mean anything. But what it marks is, you know, the plain is just that I am married. And when I was visiting these communities, of course, you know, I'm from Colombia, we love colors and shiny and, you know, noisy stuff. And I saw the single lady hat. And I'm like, oh my God, it's so beautiful, it's so shiny. I want to buy it. And they would not sell it to me. And I was like, well, but I want that one. Are you married? Yes, I am. So no, we can't. What do you mean you can't? I want it. But like, no, because you're gonna send the wrong message. You are a married woman. Why do you want to appear like if you're a single lady? You know, like, no, it's for my students, so I have to explain why I wanted the shiny one. Still, they didn't sell it to me because I'm a married woman, so pretty strict. But it was just, even that, just to see that exchange with them, how they will not sell it to me, it was very interesting because for them it's crucial. You cannot lie, right? Even if it is for, in this case, me making a fashion statement. I cannot lie. I am a married woman, so I have to show it. So it was wonderful. Also, the chicha flag color. So chicha is a fermented corn drink that is very common in Bolivia and Peru. It's actually very delicious. And in the places where you go and get chicha, if you see here, it was very difficult to actually try to get pictures of those flags. But you see that square over here? It's a red square, so that one symbolizes that's a place where you can buy chicha. But the square, the flag, has different colors, and the colors have different meanings, again, to symbolize the marital status of the woman. So if it was red, it's a married woman that is selling the chicha, so she's not available for flirting. Okay, so you have to be respectful, she's taken. Then if it is white, you know, is single, you can go and flirt, no problem. If it is blue, then it's widow, she doesn't have a husband, therefore you can go and flirt. So it was very interesting to see that it was such a big marker for the marital status of the women. But it was just for women. Well, I asked if there was something for men, and they were like, no, it's just that, you know. Then women are seen as prestada family member, prestada, like a loan, pretty much. Loan in the sense that when she gets married, now she's not part of this family anymore. She's part of the husband's family. So that's why it's kind of like a lone member of the family, because she's gonna go at some point. But because of this, the way that is seen that, okay, she's gonna be someone else's family member later, then there is not so much education that is invested on women, because it's, you know, why to invest in something that is not gonna remain with you. So that's one of the issues that I'm going to explain later on in the women and the education, that women are really fighting for this, that they have a voice, and that they are really fighting for education. So this is the pollera that I was telling you. So this is just, you know, one of those examples. And that red thing that you see there is the aguayo. It's going to be very important later on. So this is an aguayo, and it's this amazing fabric that women use. We saw it mainly in women. I only saw it on men very few times, really, really few times. It was women, and they would carry babies here. How I tried to do it once, and they will not let me, of course, allowed to do it without a real baby. But it was super interesting, and the symbolism of the aguayo is really interesting. I'm going to explain a little bit why. So women in these communities are seen as the keepers of the culture, the keepers of the language, keepers of the identity. Remember that they are the ones that are staying home raising the kids. So they are really seen as the pillar of this foundation to really help protect cultural identity. Just as a